I'm just happy that they understood the time of the day. And, I think we are in a time where, as citizens, we just have to make it very, very clear about what we're prepared and not prepared to accept as Guyanese. And for me, like I said, I'm not going to sit to listen to Ashni um, speak for 4 or 5 hours um, without them honoring the Constitution. I know that some media houses reported it that I said I'd boycott the budget, and so I had people who I thought or were of a certain level of awareness said to me, "Well, oh, how can you boycott the budget?" I said, "Well, no, that's not what I said. I said I was not going to sit at the presentation of the budget. So no, so those of us who follow Parliament, we know that the budget is presented, and then there are a few days given because remember we don't see this budget before, so we have to sit with it so that we were able to make a proper representation and engage in scrutiny. Now, that's a different phase of it. So I am glad that it has been resolved. I'm glad that tomorrow at 10 we'll be meeting to appoint the leader of the opposition, or to elect rather the leader of the opposition. As we know, the Constitution clearly provides that the Speaker of the National Assembly is the chair of meeting of the non-government MPs, at which by a majority vote, the leader of the opposition will be elected. Given the fact that Win has 109,000 votes, the person to be elected will obviously come from Win. They have indicated that is Mr. Azruddin Mohammed. And so, in keeping with the Constitution, that is how we will vote. I'll tell you, I am very mystified as to why this has attracted so much commentary. Because for me, it is a very simple matter.
Yeah.
If Azruddin Mohammed, as the presumptive leader of the opposition, and he has indicated that he will be taking up the post, I find it very, very difficult. And I have to hasten to say this. It pains me the way we expend important energy on things that should be very, very basic. And it is the reason why we are stagnated in our development. Because we spend time on matters that should be just, of course. So, because this is so naturally obvious that you wonder why there is so much intrigue and mystery around the very straightforward matter. And so we expend considerable brain power on all kind of theories and scenarios, etc., when it should just be black and white. We get it over and done with, and we get on with the business of the people.
Madam MP, you think maybe we expend so much power on looking at gray areas when it should indeed be black and white because of the administration that we're dealing with? Because in the back of your mind, they're always coming with something sinister, something out of the norm.
That has its place. No, what I'm talking about when I talk about that is, okay, well, what are you going to do, Amanda? How are you going to vote? Well, so why is, so that is what I'm talking about. As it relates to wondering about the PPP, you're absolutely right to wonder about them. I cannot tell you the amount of calls and messages that I've got today about conduct tomorrow. Yeah. Be careful. Don't drink. Don't eat. Don't walk there. And that is so sad and ridiculous because it says to you the way people perceive this government that they will stop at nothing to be triumphalist and to appear to be invincible.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, before Randy jumps in, you mentioned something, and I think the public needs to know about this. It may be a bit off from the direction in which we're going, but you talked about the fact that we never see the budget before it is presented. Would you like to comment on that? Is that something that should happen? I know it wouldn't happen overnight, obviously, especially not with this administration, but is that something that should happen? Should opposition members, opposition leaders even, be allowed to see a budget before it is presented to the public?
Generally, in some countries, it's allowed. And how is it seen? and how do you anticipate what a budget looks like is because at the local level, what informs the budget is the local input. So, for example, Region 10, I'm very interested in hearing how they have come up with a budget for Region 10. Because the way it should work in a functioning democracy is that the Regional Democratic Council, the councillors would sit, they would outline their programs, they would go into the community, get feedback about what the people need. That feedback is channeled into the budget that is then sent from the region to central. So without the input of the people, it appears as though what the PPP is doing as it relates to Region 10 is saying, look, y'all will take what we give you. We don't care what you want, because had they cared what Region 10 wanted, they would have made sure that they perfected the election of the chair and vice chair, so that they would have been a functioning RDC, so that the needs of the people of Region 10 could be adequately included in the budget for Region 10.
I want to follow up on that and this idea of them not caring, because as people may know, I served as a EPNU counselor for Region 4 in the last go round. Now, what I can tell you is that counselors, like you said, it's supposed to be that the counselors are interacting with the constituent and ensuring that their needs are reflected in the budget, and that is sent to central. I can tell you that the RU imposes his will, and the council may spend time putting a budget together, and that budget never reaches the Minister of Finance. The RU puts together what he believes the region needs and sends, and that has always been the tension between the RU and the council. And so they're not having a RDC in place in Linden, properly functioning RDC. They don't really care. That is just an opportunity for them, this regime, to continue to impose their will on the regions. And we see it on the regions that didn't vote for them. They decided they're going to use the system to control y'all. And so that is what they've done. And so they don't care what's happening. They're going to, through their RU, send a budget. And so it's just one of those situations where this you know, I started referring to them as a regime, and I will continue, because this is how they are not in no way, shape, or fashion behaving as a responsible democratic administration. They're bent on imposing their will and control over people, and so that's what we have. And this is why we now are looking to swear in a leader of the opposition months after.
We're more than 6 months, so we.
It's crazy. So MP, I know that the Speaker of the National Assembly, in what I see as an unprecedented move, decided to address the nation recently before announcing the date. The date.
It was an address, or it was a result? I'm a little confused. I'm sorry.
I want to hear your take on that position that the Speaker took, and why he postured like that, almost admonishing the people who are supposed to vote and to select the leader of the opposition, not to select a particular person. Do you believe that that's his role as the lead, as the Speaker?
Of course, it's not his role. But listen, I don't care how he postures. I really don't care how he postures. The meeting is happening Monday at 10. The meeting is happening Monday at 10. He could blow how much hot air he wants and bluster. He will sort it out with the diplomatic community. I thought it was crass. I thought it was rude. I thought it was uncalled for. I thought it was reminiscent of Priya Manik Chand's feral blast. And it was in such bad faith. But again, what you're seeing is the disintegration of the PPP, because they're receiving pushback from all quarters. And for them, once you agree with them, it's all well and good. The minute you disagree with them is a problem. Azruddin Mohammed probably knows this better than anybody else, since he has fallen out of favor with them. You know, and so this is the creature that the PPP is. And this is what they require of anybody that will enter their fold. You have to debase yourself, you have to prostitute yourself, you have to be corrupted so that they can then control you.
Correct.
And the minute you and them fall out, they will turn the hounds of hell after you. And this is why I keep admonishing when you see them engaging in injustice and victimization of your fellow Guyanese brother, you have a duty to speak up because you never know the day that it will visit you. And that is what we have playing out here. That is what we have playing out here. So, Manzoor Nadir will be Manzoor Nadir. His name says what it is. It's name and nature.
Yeah.
So we're going to go tomorrow. We're going to elect the leader of the opposition. And once tomorrow goes in an uneventful manner, we will then sit and listen to Ashley for as long as we could tolerate him with the budget tomorrow. Look, these things are very cut and dry for me. We have a lot of work to do to build this nation. So I don't have time with the back and forth and the petty little nonsense. The other night we were at the British High Commission and the government walks out. Who does that?
What, Madam MP, I'm assuming, other members of the diplomatic corps would have been present, even without telling tales out of school. What would have been their posture when the government walked out?
No,
Was it an embarrassment for us, Tiny?
what I did is that I stayed outside. I allowed everybody to exit because, like I said, 2026, my energy is not for the drama. We have work to do, and I want to be about this serious work. I am not in the frame of mind for posturing and all of these things. We have serious work to do. So I sat in my vehicle, watched everybody come out, and it was interesting to see just how a crowd of people just exited a place and
as though it was planned. Okay, this is what we're gonna do.
yeah, but I mean, what is that about?
So,
I was today at the Methodist service with the Prime Minister, and I made the point in greeting him that I don't see the Prime Minister as an enemy, and that this rancor and hate and malice that has come to characterize our political landscape is destroying us. And it might seem like if I'm rambling, but allow me to make this point. The violence that we see playing out in schools is a direct result of the lawlessness that is permeating our society. The government doesn't understand that when you send the message to the population that following the law is optional, that following the Constitution is optional, what you are communicating, knowingly or unknowingly, willingly or unwillingly, to the population is that lawlessness is okay. And so this is why we're seeing the type of conduct. This is why children can be beating teachers in school. The rot in a society starts from the head, and Barjagdio, Irfan Ali, and the whole bunch of them are a rotten lot.
And I was talking to someone this afternoon, and this is obviously a personal vendetta playing out in front of our eyes, and putting our nation in jeopardy, as you said last, and because they have a vendetta, because there is no reason. This regime made it clear that the leader of the opposition's position is it's one that doesn't come with any immunity. So if Azruddin is sworn in as the leader of the opposition and he needs to be extradited, it will happen. And so, what is the reason for holding it back? What is the reason for not wanting it? It is personal at this point in time with the BBP. And so, they're playing games with our livelihood.
Listen. It's personal, and I have zero interest in getting involved in anybody's personal beef.
Exactly.
No, I'm being very serious.
Yeah.
Zero interest in getting anybody. Like I said to people, I don't hold a brief as in Mohammed. It's the principle of the matter. Elections were run, people cast their votes, and we are not at liberty to ignore the 109,000 voters that voted. So for me, I got messages today. Oh, you got to be careful. You're gonna get your visa revoked. This is gonna happen to you. I'm like, because I choose to honor the votes of the people of Guyana and vote in a particular way in Parliament. I thought the Constitution says sovereignty belongs to the people who exercise it through their duly elected representatives. I don't sit there because I carried myself there. I sat there. I sit there because enough people voted. And to those who believe that the fact that we are sitting there on what they call residual votes means one goddamn thing to me, as if it is something that you should be ashamed of, I have news for you. I will sashay my one seat self up in the parliament tomorrow, elect the leader of the opposition, and then go back to listen to the thing. You will have to put up with me. One seat, I am there.
Randy, please ensure that we have our
No, because you see, in trying to believe that they could hurt my feelings, which if they know me, they would understand that there's nobody that laughs at me like me.
True.
So, yeah, y'all know this.
That's very correct.
So when you think that by saying, "Oh, you're there and you didn't have enough," I am there. And you will have to put up with me. You will have to contend with me because enough people in Guyana placed their faith in me and they went and they voted in the movement, in the Forward Guyana ticket led by yours truly. And I have no apologies for it. None whatsoever. So we're going to be there with we want itself. We're going to be loud. We are going to be in their faces, and we're going to be representing not just the thousands of people that voted for us, but every Guyanese that needs representation. Because when we took an oath, it was to uphold the Constitution without fear or favor, affection or ill will. So it's on.
All right. Let's jump forward now. After the election of the leader of the opposition, later down in the day, we listened to Ashley, and persons who were following, we heard the president lay out some plans in front of Parliament, and I think a lot of those things that we heard will now be reflected in Ashley's speech, because now you have to say, how are we going to fund these plans that the president had? Did you hear anything in the last couple of months, before, during, and after the president's presentation, that indicates to you that this government is going to change course? And why I say that, it is well recognized that they're focused on infrastructure, they focus on infrastructural development, and as I see it, their neglect of human and social development has made them come into some criticism, and I don't know that will change. I want to hear your thoughts on that. Do you believe that they will focus more on that, or they continue to pump money into infrastructure?
They will continue to pump money into infrastructure.
And
It is
where does that leave
the
Guyanese?
psyche of the people in the PPP government. They're going to, the way the budget runs, Ashley will speak. He will, of course, begin with something about the return of democracy after a protracted period. It'll be a cut and paste budget. And after he does that return of democracy spiel, he will, of course, reference stealing or trying to steal an election and steal the will of the people, as if they're not appoint or allowing an opposition leader to be elected, and then trying to actively dissuade Guyanese from electing somebody that should rightfully be elected is not thwarting the will of the people, but they have convenient blinders on. And then he will go into the numbers because it looks good on paper, and then of course it'll be the biggest budget ever, because I do not understand how is it that it is a boast that it is the biggest budget ever. Every successive year, it is more than likely going to be more than the year before. But you see, the PPP understands that they can throw stupidness out there, and people will willingly run with it. And for those who like to say, oh, Amanda said people are mentally lazy, whatever, the VP had choice words describing Guyanese people. So listen to me, the lack of patience that I have with nonsense at this point in our evolution is going to be very apparent, because we have to understand that we have got to speak some hard truths to our people. We may have to hold their hands while we're saying it, but unless we do something radically different, we're not going to get different results. So Ashling will cut and paste. So let me start off. He'll talk about the return to democracy, talk about the egregious trying to steal an election. Then he will go into, of course, the various sectors. He will announce a lot of the initiatives, and then coming to the end, they will talk about the relief. What they have done for the last few years is give 0.5 and 1% of the entire budget to cost of living easing. I have noted the report of the IDB that food cost is likely to skyrocket this year, particularly imported food items. It's not a good report, and so we have to brace ourselves for things becoming more expensive. So the government is not going to do much. They're going to throw the $100,000 in there for good measure, and they're going to make a big hullabaloo about no new taxes. And they're going to fund a lot of this budget from the NRF, which is worrying, because what are we putting up for tomorrow if we are spending all of this today? If you're using the Natural Resources Fund for budget support, what are we leaving for the future generation? And it could very well be that we are in breach of our constitutional duty doing this, because the Constitution especially says that our future generations are entitled to enjoy the benefits derived from the exploitation of our natural resources. And so that's all we're going to see tomorrow. He's going to, of course, talk about the PNC or the APNU that levied 200 new taxes. We have time and time again asked, could you list these 200 taxes? And they have not been able to list the 200 taxes, but they will confidently repeat it, because their propaganda is Goebbelsian, and they repeat a lie, repeat a lie, repeat a lie. And then they have their sycophants and people who don't mean to do any research and understand for themselves what's happening, repeating it over and over again. And that is what you'll see tomorrow. I don't expect anything groundbreaking. I expect more of the same. I expect a massive infrastructure rollout, notwithstanding that this government has done nothing to close the gap, the efficiency gap, so that we minimize wastage and we minimize corruption, and we minimize us losing up to 45 cents on every dollar that we spend on infrastructure, because that is the only way they can thief. Right? That's the only way they can thief. Infrastructure is the best place to facilitate corruption.
All right. I want you to touch on what should have been done, because we know you have a wide knowledge on these things. We see currently various ministers, even the president is doing. When he's not playing football, he's playing basketball and he's playing cricket, and he's going into these communities. And in some cases, it may very well excite the younger persons. What should have been done in terms of contributing to a budget for the people? I think Randy touched on the human side of things, in terms of how humans should benefit. And again, I'm focusing on youth here, because you talked about young people feeling it's okay. Apparently, it's normal now to just brawl on the road in your uniform, and you're fighting in schools and you're beating up teachers. Now, what should have been done in the budget to channel these things, instead of we have various ministers and even the president himself on social media making a mockery of everything, as far as I'm concerned, because these things don't impress me, and there are many young people who I talk to that it doesn't impress. But then there's the other side of the coin, where it might very well impress and attract some of the young people, the same young people we're trying to save.
Well, it will, and this is where programs like this become important. This is where talking and educating our young people becomes important, because I'll tell you what, the other side of what you're seeing in terms of the violence in schools is frustration. Those children are lashing out. And they're lashing out because more than likely at home, it's tense and there's lashing out at home. And so there's a vicious cycle happening. And what this PPPC government does not understand is that it has a duty to make sure that Guyanese have the minimum that they're required to live good and peaceable lives. This is a problem that we have, and unless we tackle it by the root, I'm sorry, there's no cosmetic dressing to this. We have got to put in place the basic infrastructure for our people to have a productive, healthy life. We do not have the basics in place. Irfan Ali is talking about building a museum and a state-of-the-art this. I was in the cultural center today and the ceiling is falling down. The sound is shot. And you look at it and you're saying that in this fastest growing economy, you do not even have the basics upon which to grow or from which to grow. When people are consumed with having to keep their head down and scrunt and scrape and save just to live on a day-to-day basis, they don't have time for advanced citizenry. They don't have time for advanced thinking. They don't have time to think that I should keep my environment clean. They are thinking about survival. And the PPP has kept this country in survival mode anytime that they have been in government. And we've got to break that. Guyanese have got to break it. I hope that what they have seen in the last few years has indicated to them that nobody's coming to save us. And that if we don't stand up and save ourselves, if we don't stand up and hold this government accountable, then the Guyana that we're leaving for our children, the world that we're leaving for our children, is not going to be one that's going to be in any way, shape, or form good.
And as we observe all of what you're saying, the PPP continues to engage in performative politics as far as I see. We go there, and the propaganda machine will roll out the president cooking curry and picking mango, and and everything is fine.
And let me say this: we are to be blamed.
Yeah.
We as Guyanese are to be blamed because we're too easily impressed with nonsense and mediocrity.
Right there.
Like I said, listen, I don't know how they're going to feel about me by the time this year ends, because I am not prepared to criticize the PPP alone, because the PPP thrives and exists in the way they do because people allow it.
Correct.
And so Irfan gets up and thinks, oh, how will I perform today? What can I do to show that I'm cool?
And
I know Guyanese will clap and they will think, rather than understanding that you are in a fight for the existence of your children in a country that they're born in. It's like bread and circus back in the days of the Romans. So they will give them a party. They're going to have banks on the avenue. We're going to go and we're going to forget our problems. We're going to have this here. We're going to have a party here. We're going to have a party there. There's a time and a place for that. Like tonight, I'll be going to see what Kwesies is doing over at Civic when we're done. There's a time and a place for that. But you cannot continue to be distracted. So if the PPP is getting over with this cool guy, cool girl propaganda, it is because we are allowing it.
All right. There's 8:04 as we move quickly. If you're now joining us, we're talking with the MP Amanda Walton, of course, Ramsey in studio with me. And we're talking about the upcoming budget. Largest ever. Somebody hinted that it's going to reach 2 trillion. 2 trillion. So we were close to 2 trillion last year.
It probably, no, it wasn't.
Was it 1 point something?
It was just over $1 trillion.
Oh, just over $1 trillion. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And the question is, how are we funding it?
Yeah.
Are we borrowing ourselves into a hole that we will not be able to fill? And these are the questions that we have to ask. Are we saddling our generations to come with debt?
Yeah.
But should we not be in, and again, and Randy always knows me, and MP yourself know me and the maths and the numbers, but I'm gonna ask this. Should we, she laughs, should we not be doing better when it comes to our budget? Should we not be doing better? Viewers, if you're hearing a feedback, my phone is doing its own thing. Yeah, should we not be doing better in an oil and gas economy when it comes to our budget? Because we're getting funds from oil and gas.
Look,
should we not be doing better?
Look, the idea is to be able to prevent, or we had hoped to prevent the Dutch disease, which is because you're an oil and gas economy, you have a situation where you are keeping the economy afloat through the use of revenue get generated from that. And so your other sectors, and I'm trying to keep it here very simple so that everybody can understand. So you neglect the other sectors and you don't, and because of neglect, those sectors suffer. So you find production decreasing in the areas of rice, you find agriculture may suffer, you find mining may suffer, because now in order to get out, you got to put in, right? So if you're not investing in these sectors, output is going to be affected. And so you become dependent on this one commodity. And then, God forbid, because it is the most volatile commodity in economics, that the price dips because of war, famine, some anything can affect the cost of a barrel of oil. And so you tie your economy to that. That is the insanity of what we're seeing. And so the approach has to be different. We have got to be temperate in the way we do infrastructure. I'm not saying don't build. I'm saying build, but build quality. Right? Build quality. It may take a year longer, but I prefer to take a year longer and have a road that will last for 30, 40 years than overheating the economy by having all of this infrastructure being built. Quality is poor. Then every year we're spending hundreds of billions of dollars on maintenance, when those hundreds of billions could have been going to things like mental health, to things like paying nurses, to things like healthcare, those softer things that determine the quality of life of people. Guyanese do not have a high quality of life. You look everywhere, people are stressed. And this place hot, and it ain't helping the GPL can't give us a 24-hour supply of electricity uninterrupted. And so people are on edge. And so a lot of the violence that you're seeing is people acting out. It is like you're in a goddamn pressure cooker. I'm so sorry to say that, but it's like you're in a pressure cooker.
And then that same mental state, you jump in your vehicle and you drive.
And then you drive.
And then the big trucks, the sand trucks, with all of this infrastructure. I'm not saying it's the only cause, but it's contributing to a lot of these road accidents. This is a fact.
No, absolutely. So what you're finding in our society is just lawlessness. And lawlessness has become somehow cool. And being a dunce thug is somehow cool. And so on and so forth. And we do not understand the consequences of these. We are living in the consequences of No Child Left Behind right now.
Exactly.
So we have children who are passing out fifth form and can't read at a grade 6 level. The PPP is running this country on propaganda. Nothing is as it seems.
Performative.
And you realize they're never wrong. They don't accept fault for anything. It's never we apologize, but we will do this different the next time around. We will consult with the people the next time around to improve this sector, this area, or this community. They're never wrong. They've convinced themselves.
Look at what is happening right now with the municipality.
Yeah.
with the mayor and city council.
Mhm.
I
And
find-
then pray like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to do more. The council is not doing what it should do. Have you given the council the tools, the leeway, the width and scope to
Yeah.
do what it ought to do? But you're there. You know, the Bible said, no wonder Satan himself is transformed to an angel of light. You're there.
Yeah.
Oh, we want to serve you. Give the town council the tools. If they can't do the job with the tools, then you remove them. But do not give them the tools for the job and then turn around to say, oh, they're the cause of the city being dirty. APNU was able to clean up the city.
Yeah.
You look at the 5 years David Patterson was the Minister of Infrastructure. Look, we had floods. Think about it.
Is it the city was getting the subventions? And
The
they weren't
city
acting?
was getting the subventions. It was being managed properly. It is sickening to me that everything that affects the quality of life in Guyanese, in our existence, comes down to PPP and their mindset. And this is why when people say, I'm not interested in politics, I say to them, but politics is interested in you. Because you determine the quality of your life based on the government that you put in there. And if people do not understand by now that the PPP don't care about nobody other than their friends, family, and favorites, and that the only reason that they will entertain you is if you are towing their line and singing their song and dancing to their music, then, as old people say, well, we're in careful, you careful.
I find it such poor politics as, like I see it playing out MP. You said it just now. Give the council what they need to get the job done. If they can't with the tools, then it's a different ball game. But it is hypocritical to say to the council, you're not doing X, Y, Z when you are withholding the money for them to do X, Y, Z. It was Martin Luther King, I think, who said, it is all well and good to tell a man to pull himself up by his bootstraps, but it's a cruel trick to tell a man that when he doesn't have a boot.
When he does not have a boot, and this is what they're doing, and they're going into the. Let me tell you something, Georgetown people. Listen to them when they come. You smile. Oh, we want to, yes, and then don't vote for them. No, I'm being very, very serious because understand that the minute they get control of the Georgetown municipality, they're going to begin to put the taxes in place that they keep denying the council the authority to do right now. It's just like the cash grant. These people cost the previous APNU administration for taking certain positions. We have the money, give cash grants, and then now...
It's not
And frankly, Guyanese, if we don't learn from that, then we look for what we get, as the old people say. If that doesn't give us cause for pause and say, look, man, everything these people tell me, I have to now scrutinize it. I have to now go, let me hear what man's is saying about this thing. Let me hear what this body is saying about this before I drink something hook, line, and sinker. Because cash grants was it. Yeah, I remember the PR. Oh man.
Nice Christmas.
And then suddenly it's not sustainable. But remember a few months ago, it was the basis for building generational wealth.
Yeah. Take 100,000 build generational wealth. These people speak from both sides of the mouth all the time. Because the reality is, when we saw teachers on the road for 3 months and say, oh, there's no fiscal space in the budget. Then a few months after, they're talking about building the next bridge across the Berbice River. All these fancy things you're finding money to roll out to do. But to give the teachers some more money, you can't do that. But we spending 666 billion on infrastructure. They do not care, and they take our Chinese people for granted. They insult our intelligence at every single corner because can't tell me you don't have fiscal space, but you rolling out billions to do every other thing.
Like said, they do that. They're successful in doing it because we allow it. I know Ghanaians are very
my
smart,
people will have it so.
Yeah.
And my people will have it so. everything that this government does to us is because we allow it. And I want to be very clear. You look at the US, for example, you look at the fact that it's not the political leaders are out there.
People,
The people decide we had enough. And so so what y'all doing? I ask them, what are you doing? How are you playing a role in this? Because for some reason, we always think that salvation is outside of ourselves.
Again, you said it, no one is coming to save
You
us.
can't outsource this struggle. This has to be with you, and maybe it will happen when Guyanese become desperate enough. Maybe we're not desperate enough yet. I do not know what it will take for us to understand that we have to be more civic minded, we have to be more diligent, we have to be more vigilant and zealous in the way we safeguard our rights, and we have to look around the world and see what is happening, because you had people who voted in the hopes that bad things would happen to other people. And this is why I ask us this question, Randy. I remember some years ago standing up, because I've never been the kind of person to just toe the line in politics. Y'all know I could be very own way sometimes, and it's been a problem for a lot of people. But I do not believe that if I stand to speak to the people of Guyana, it should be pretense and malice. I want to be as honest as I can possibly be. And it occurred to me some years ago, I can't remember which budget speech it was, when I asked, I said, do we want change or do we just want exchange? Is it that we're not okay with the injustice and the corruption, period? Or is it that we're not okay with the fact that we are not benefiting from it? And these are the questions that we have to ask ourselves as a people. Because Martin Luther King said something, darkness can't drive out darkness, only light can. And so we have to, I was saying to the Methodist Church today, you hear people talk about poor people, they're hungry, they're this, they're violent, they're this. And we hate poor people more than we hate the poverty that makes them that way. Man, look, we got some hard things to confront.
But this is the thing, though, MP. I mean, you keep talking, we keep talking. Forward Guyana movement has been out there for months now, and sometimes I still do not think, and I know people are going to be upset with me, but these are the facts. Are we ready for these conversations, these questions that you're asking, these things that you're putting out there? Are Guyanese even ready to have this kind of conversation?
We have to be ready, and I have to trust that we are ready, right? And I have to be authentically me. And so if we're not ready, then we're going to suffer the consequences of not being ready. If we're not ready, we need to get ready, because the world is not waiting on us. It's not, are we seeing what's happening? There's a shift happening geopolitically. There's a shift happening in terms of the economics of this world. We can't afford to be lulled into a false sense of complacency. We have got to wake up, and we've got to be militant in terms of truth guarding and factual analyses and so on, and call out our own people, call out our own leaders. You know, you see some the biggest joke I had this week is Kwame giving me a comeuppance. And there's this duck curry stuff. I'm like, if duck curry, which I can't eat, by the way, because of allergies, can't eat duck. If that is what you have to contribute to a national discourse about people's lives and the future of our children, then you need to take several seats. Because it means you're not ready for this kind of conversation. You're still playing in the little children section and this big people conversation.
Correct.
Definitely. 8:20 here, folks. About 10 more minutes to go. I do not want to leave conversation, and we'll make a point every single week to impress upon the people of Guyana that there's one dark cloud hanging over our country, and that is the reform of our electoral infrastructure and electoral system. Because we all of the fight, all of the talk, maybe to not, if you cannot go to the polls and expect that your vote is counted in the right way, and you actually your voice is reflected in the final result. And so again, MD, just to kind of bring the people's attention to what needs to happen as we move forward in the next couple of years. We have local government elections coming up, and it is you have another opportunity to influence policy at your local level, get involved. But the idea of the infrastructure and what needs to be fixed. Just every week you want to remind
Jacob,
people.
no, and I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree because, like I always say, elections are a referendum for or against a particular government, and so the electoral mechanism has to be safeguarded. The PPP has captured the electoral machinery, and so they intend to manipulate it to suit them. So we, the people of Guyana, have got to stand up and we've got to demand reform of GCOM. And again, this is where we have to answer the question whether we want exchange or we want real change. Because is it, and I suppose there is some, let me put it this way. We've got to build institutions so that as far as is reasonably practicable, those institutions function irrespective of who is in government. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that can only happen if you build strong, independent institutions. Remember that whoever's in government, their spirit is what embodies
And if they want to
institutions.
if they want to be, do ill things.
And if they want to do ill things is what will happen. But you look at other countries and you've seen how safeguards have been built in because by human nature we frail, and then by human nature we have a bent to certain things. And so we have to create institutions that are able to safeguard the people. I said to people something, I say, yes, America has its issues, but it has institutions. And so what you find is, unlike Guyana, there's no full-on impact. Here, the people don't like you, you can't work, you can't eat, and they run you out of the country.
Correct.
Institutions are intended to act as a buffer between government excesses and malice and victimization. It's intended to act as a buffer between the citizen and that. And so you have to understand that what we are in a fight against is Guyana becoming a one-party state where they capture all of the institutions. They put in place people who are only loyal to them. And you know why we will keep losing the fight unless we change? Because we really have to want change. I am not fighting to put a man in there that is favorable to me. I want a man in there that could do his job. I want somebody in there that can tell me no when I overstep and I'm being excessive, because that is what is in the best interest of the people. And you have people will say, oh, well, that is politically inexpedient or naive. But I have never been here for politics. I am here about how do we effect real, meaningful change in this country. And that is the only way we're going to do it. That's the only way we're going to do it.
Yeah, definitely. 8:24 as we wind the program down this evening. Remember, you can share the live, folks, if you're looking at us on Facebook, or you're hearing us on 975. Those folks in Purbe's area, good evening to you. Demerara, those in Esquivel, of course, good friends in the mining town of Linden listening to us this
Hello,
evening.
Linden.
Yeah.
They say hello to people in the diaspora,
Yeah,
especially
of
those who are snowed in at this point.
Yeah.
We're sending warmth your way. for sure.
Today I was driving home and I was like, what really God just wants us all to be still or something, because it's hot here. So like the reptiles, you hardly want to move. And then it's cold there, so you're snowed in and you can't move. So, but listen, we're living in very, very, very strange, stressful times. and self-care is important. Um, and also stay away from some of the drama, man.
Yeah.
It's too much drama going on.
Well,
And I keep saying something. I say something to anybody who knows me. Energy is energy is energy. And so whether you spend it on drama, whether you spend it on productive pursuits, it is the same energy that is required and you're expending it. So why not use it
Yeah.
in productive pursuits?
I'm happy that you touched on, because it shocked most of us, even though we shouldn't be shocked anymore, because again, you just touched on mental health issues and the realness of it. I think I'd like us to, Randy talked about us always coming back to the conversation about the electoral machinery in our country that needs to be better. But before we wrap up this evening, I just want you to touch on people and their mental health and how important it is for them to take care of it. And I'm saying this because I'm sitting here and I'm recalling the young lady who was pregnant at the time and she threw herself out of, I mean, in the hospital that should be protecting you. But the details of that, I know it's another conversation, but I just wanted to touch on people and taking care of their mental health and people watching their families who may have mental health issues. Yes, you may not be qualified to deal with a mental health patient, but you could make some sort of contribution that may be able to better their lives and even save their lives.
There is a contribution that every one of us could make. Every one of us. Be kind. Just be kind. You do not know what somebody is going through. Be kind. I can't put it any more simple than that. Just be kind. Be thoughtful. A good morning. How are you? Oh God, just try a little kindness.
Yep.
We're in the age of social media and everybody got an opinion. And so they sit in the comfort of their homes and post a bunch of bilge, nasty comments. Not understanding that is not what you take in that defiles you, is what you say, what comes out. And I always get amused when people think they could cuss me out, because that says more about you than it does me.
Yeah, correct.
So the more you open your mouth and say, it tells me about who you are. But aside from that, just be kind. Just people are dealing with a lot. You see people on the road and you don't know that they might be just one more thing away from completely losing it, and just a kind word from you could give them hope. It could breathe life into them. So everybody can do something. Just be kind. And then we're going to talk about the mental health programs, and we're going to talk about the mental health training that we need to do, and we're going to talk about how workplaces should have mental health spaces. We're going to talk about the training of more mental health professionals for our schools. But what is all of this predicated on? It's predicated on paying people properly. That's the one thing, that's the one acronym that PPP don't stand for.
Paying people properly.
Pay people properly. We must pay people properly because even the mental health workers have their own stresses. And so if you're gonna pay me $80,000 to come to solve problems all day, I am not gonna be interested in it.
Just doing it because that's what's there. Because going through emotion, you got bills to pay.
You got bills, so there's no impactful. So we have to. And let me tell you something. In this age of AI, emotional intelligence is going to be it's going to be the currency. But be ready for the conversation. We still figured out to clean the drains. So maybe another time.
Yes.
Here we are.
Yes. All right, folks. I think it's a good note for us to end on.
She always
know.
stuns you at the end of the program, Randy. I like it. You always leave you speechless.
And tomorrow, the 26th, with the election of the opposition leader and the budget. Do you expect any drama? No, you're talking about drama. Do you expect any drama in that meeting?
She hopes, I will answer for her here. She hopes it is uneventful.
I really hope it is uneventful because I don't have no time for drama.
Yeah.
We got like serious work to do. We have people depending on us. I hope we all go in there. The people nominate the man, somebody second it, we raise our hands, I count it, and we beat out. I hope that is what happens. Because I don't have the bandwidth for stripping this.
All right. There you go, folks. 8:31 here in the 592. We want to thank you, MP Amanda Walton, of course, for like Ramsey. We are signing out now.
And we're going by Kwesi.
Yes.
We're going and let our hair down.
We're going to support Kwesi. One man, one stage.